just said that. I'm from Lawrence, Kansas, but I live in Fairfax, Virginia, and work in Washington, D.C. I want to introduce myself and let the other two up here introduce themselves as well.
My name is Shawn Ironmaker, sits with Eagle. I'm from the Ani and Lakota, Pembina, and Cree tribes in north central Montana, and I live in Washington, D.C.
And I'm Max.
Okay, we wanted to start off the event with two songs that both honor veterans. And the first song we're going to sing is a flag song, and it's the equivalent of the national anthem. So if you are able to please rise, and just as we honor all the veterans in respect for Veterans Day coming up. So we're going to sing two songs. The first is a flag song, and then we're going to follow up by a veterans / victory song.
Yes. Oh, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Tansei My name is Angela Gladue from Amiskwachi Waskaigun Treaty 6 Territory, Edmonton, Alberta. And I'm Nehiawak Cree. Gonna share this hoop dance with y'all today, and I'm gonna pass it to my good friend Dennis Zotai to share what the hoop dance is all about, all right? So while I'm setting up, give it up for Dennis Zotai.
Thank you very much, Angela. The hoop dance is a very specialized dance. It's an art form that began as a healing form. Native people have always used hoops in medicinal ceremonies that were traditional to their individual tribes and regions. The hoop represents a never-ending circle of life. There is no beginning, there is no ending. Many tribes believe that when you dance through these hoops, you're giving new life to another generation. The original hoops were used by medicine men and women. They used it to look inside the body. They used it to look into the future. They often would take these hoops and they were kept in special cases. In the 1930s, a man named Tony Whitecloud, who was from the Jemez Pueblo, began using multi-hoops and dancing through these hoops, making different formations. And he became very popular. He appeared in Chicago, in St. Louis, at the World's Fairs, at the Gallup Indian Ceremony, in Gallup, New Mexico, at the American Indian Exposition. And people began to take notice of this new art form that Tony created. In 1992, after he had passed away, the first hoop dance was begun at the New Mexico State Fair in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And my father, we kind of co-founded that. The next year it was moved to the Herd Museum in Phoenix, Arizona, where it stays today. Through this hoop dance, new artists have been born and have traveled the world showcasing this style of dance, which is fairly contemporary. And Angela's going to be doing her interpretation today, and watch as she makes many beautiful designs. Watch for a man riding horseback, a butterfly as it comes out of its cocoon, a thunderbird, an eagle, a tornado. These are symbolic designs that she will be creating through movement and these hoops. And if you see a design that you like, feel free to give her a great big round of applause. And I know she'll ham it up that much for you. This is Angela Gladue at this time from the Frog Lake First Nations in Alberta, Canada. was Angela Gladue. Those of you on Weight Watchers program, I hope you were watching.
I'm HoCo-Auld, and this is my brother, and we're going to introduce ourselves in Navajo. HoCo-Auld, Twahagli Nishle, to Pamunkey Pasachin, to Petani, Dasache, to Yaman, Dashanale.
Natani Audinishe, Twahagli Do Pamunkey Pasachin, do Petani Dasache, do Yaman Dashanale.
First, we will sing Sheenasha. Next, we will sing the Navajo puppy song. Wena, wena, neo, wena, neo, nisha, ekasfulia, I'll tell ya go a bit ditcho, da na de go a city kitty club. Aqui Jesus ain't not close. Sheha, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, guys, so we are lucky because Chris has been so gracious, as has Corel, that they are actually going to be performing twice. So we were not supposed to see Chris for a while, but he comes from Taos, Pueblo, as well as Oglala, Lakota country, and he's going to be doing a traditional dance, and he is accompanied by Lance, Max, and Shawn. Yeah, like.
Thank you, Mr. Zerta. Why don't y'all get my purse out of the car?
remember, because November is Native American. The mic turned off. November is Native American Heritage Month, and I just wanted to bring awareness to the fact that there are over 575 federally recognized tribes. We each have our own language, we each have our own cultures, traditions, housings, way of living, and we're not all the same. So that's something that I really want to stress, that we're not all homogenous, we don't all wear headdresses, we don't all live in teepees, a lot of stereotypes that exist. That's one reason that we have this event, is to bring awareness to the fact that there are many different tribes out there with many different traditions. And if you have noticed that usually when people give their introductions, they'll say it in their native tongue, as well as introducing themselves and bringing awareness to their individual tribes. So a hat for that dance, Chris. Next, we're actually going to have an East Coast native, Carell Hall, who will be doing a Nanticoke toe dance, and she's going to introduce exactly where she's from and a few of her traditions.
Iwinatu, we kanal wilmo wemawen. It's good to see all of you. My name is Carell Hall. Hello. Hi, I'm going to come up there in a minute. While we are working on some of the technical challenges, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my people and about this song. And so I am from the Nanticoke tribe, and we are in southern Delaware. So for those of you who may have visited Rehoboth Beach, anyone? We're about 20 minutes inland from Rehoboth. Historically, our people lived on the eastern shore of Maryland around the Nanticoke River. So today, when Annie asked me to present something from my community, I immediately thought of this one song. Now, this song is over 100 years old, and our community used to hold our annual powwow 100 years ago. We held it over Thanksgiving weekend. And the reason we did this was because while the rest of the country was, celebrating the Pilgrims and them taking the land, we wanted to celebrate that we were still here. And so we would have our powwows with our community. And this song, which is called the Nanticoke Toe Dance, is a dance that is done by all of the women. So you have the elder women and the adults and the young girls who are all dancing together. So I'll need you, when I do this dance, I'll need you to imagine that I'm up here with all of my relatives, because we don't really dance alone. But for today, I'm going to need you to just imagine us all dancing together in a circle. And this song is also really important to us because it has our language as part of it. And most of us, we don't really speak our language anymore. We're working to bring it back to our communities. But this language is in this song, and that's another reason it's very important to our people. And so today, this song was originally recorded in the 1940s, I want to say. Today, I have it on CD. I also am, we're trying to convert it to a more contemporary format so we can play it for you here today. And I'm really looking forward to showing you this.
Test.
Good afternoon. We were asked to provide another song. This song is in my community with the Ani, they call us the Grovant, and then the Pakani and the Siksika with the Blackfeet Nations in Montana. This is referred to as a Braveheart song, so it's for the people, and with that, we'd like to share that with you.
Oh
Tonya Aikens, President and CEO of Howard County Library System. We are so honored to host this Native American Month celebration here at our East Columbia branch. Thank you to our partners, Nava and the Howard County Executive's Office and the Howard County Department of Human Rights and Equity. We acknowledge that the Susquehannock are the treaty people of this region. We acknowledge that their ancestors governed, farmed, and lived here long before us. Today, we honor the many nations of indigenous people who came before, and all those with us today. You are not invisible. We see you and are honored to be here, and we thank you. We know that some of you traveled quite a long distance to be here with us today. Thank you so, so very much. Honoring the library's commitment to high-quality education for all and creating a more just and equitable, empathetic, and inclusive community, the Howard County Library System launched Brave Voices, Brave Choices initiative. We've offered racial equity training free for our community and for our staff. We opened an equity resource center at our Central branch, offering over 9,000 titles, and are currently hosting the Undesigned the Red Line exhibit. The exhibit explores the history of structural racism and inequality and how we can come together to undesign these systems with intentionality. As part of our Brave Voices, Brave Choices initiative, we've collected more than 600 stories from those who live, work, and play in Howard County about their experiences with racism and discrimination, and importantly, stories of hope, things that are working very well that should perhaps be replicated across the community. Your stories are an important piece of our community story, and we invite you to share your story today with our Story Squad, who are here on site to assist. Finally, we created a Racial Equity Alliance that guides the library's public-facing equity work. I'm honored that HoCo-Auld and Dr. Denise Boston, whom you'll hear from momentarily, are among our esteemed members. Thank you both. A special thank you to the core planning committee for this event and all the staff and volunteers who assisted and made this day possible. To all of our attendees, thank you so very much for being here. Please stay and enjoy our vendors and performances. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Angela Cabellon. I am the Chief Innovation Officer and the Deputy Chief Administrative Officer in Howard County Government. And I want to bring greetings on behalf of County Executive Calvin Ball. First of all, let me acknowledge the ancestral lands here in Howard County. Let us take a moment to just realize that every day we walk in the footsteps of the Nanticoke, Piscataway, and Susquehannock tribes. I also want to echo Tonya Aikens' gratitude in thanking all the organizers, the library, our Office of Human Rights and Equity, and of course, to all of those who are here on this stage sharing culture, sharing their souls, and sharing stories today. Celebrating Native American Heritage Month reminds us to appreciate and honor the rich and diverse cultures, traditions, histories, and contributions of our Native peoples. I'm so proud to be on Dr. Ball's leadership team, and let me tell you, I recall the day that he said we needed to reclaim Columbus Day. This year, we celebrated Indigenous and Native people and culture on the second year in a row for Indigenous Peoples Day just a few weeks ago. And I believe that we will continue to move toward a vision for Howard County to be a place where all have a new collective awareness. During this month and beyond, because of course our efforts will not stop after this month, we are ensuring generations to come have a new frame of history. We marvel at the resilience of those who, despite immeasurable suffering and enduring attempts to erase Native peoples, have survived and thrived. We are reminded that our education must carry on into our everyday conversations. As we are all here and continue to combat a pandemic, one that we haven't seen in centuries. We are grateful to be here together. We have this opportunity now to unite and celebrate, so please take a moment to celebrate this precious time and relish in what Native American Heritage Month truly means. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Hi, my name is Dr. Denise Boston. I'm the Equity and Restorative Practices Manager in the Office of Human Rights and Equity, and it's an honor, it's truly an honor for me to be here today. I am a product of Howard County. I grew up here, came here, 1970. My parents came here a long, long time ago. And I'm here with you today as the new Equity and Restorative Practices Manager. I want to thank everyone for contributing to this fabulous, wonderful festival and celebration today. Could we just take a moment of silence to reflect on whose land we're standing on? We acknowledge that the Native Americans are here with us now and will continue to be with us as we look forward to the future. I'd like to thank more specifically all of the artisans and performers and facilitators who generously sharing their ancestral legacies with us in the form of dance, literature, song, food, crafts, and so much more. Our partners of the Office of Howard County Library System. Woo-woo, did I blow it out? I blew it out. I have a big voice. There you go. The Howard County Library System, let's give them a hand. East Branch Library. Nava Diné, a hand. The Office of Human Rights and Equity. The Native American Heritage Month Celebration Committee. Brooke, you're here? Yeah. Hey, Brooke. Begay. Yeah. Gray. And Marla Moore. Thank you, committee. And the cadre of staff and volunteers who worked tirelessly to bring this day to fruition. So thank everyone who took a part in bringing this today for us. The Howard County Office of Human Rights and Equity is dedicated to creating a county where all residents have a quality of life free from discrimination. We accomplish this through investigating claims and by facilitating trainings, workshops, events that further respects and appreciates protected classes and diverse cultures and encourages all of us to love and appreciate our neighbors, not just tolerate them. Can I get an amen on that one? Amen. I blew the speaker out, so forgive me. If you or someone else are facing discrimination or would like to learn more about the equity and our community stewardship, we are here for you. On behalf of the Office of Human Rights and Equity, thank you and have a fabulous day.
All right. So at this time, we're going to hear from Jourdan Bennett-Begaye.
Hi, hello again. For newcomers, Jourdan Bennett-Begaye Yanshe, Kiani Yanshe, Mindish Gizzy Bashishi, Nakaidane Dashache, Oze Tachini Dasanella. My name is Jourdan. I am born for the Towering House people, or I am the Towering House, excuse me, I don't translate this in English a lot, so it takes a while. I am the Towering House clan, born for the Coyote Pass people. My maternal grandfather is of the Mexican people, and my paternal grandfather is of Red Redding to Hopi. I am Diné from New Mexico. I've lived in the area for about 3 years now. What took me out here was my work. I'm the managing editor for Indian Country Today. We are the oldest and largest news organization for Indigenous news. We have a 40-year legacy, and actually this year is our 40th anniversary. Woo! And I think our organizations, I love what we do. We, in the last 40 years, we've had 3 different iterations of our paper. So it started as the Lakota Times back in 1981 in the Dakotas. It was then turned over to the Oneida Nation, and they turned it into a digital site and a magazine. And then they donated it to the National Congress of American Indians, which is where my boss, Mark Trahant, who's a pretty well-known figure, he's Shoshone-Bannock. He then revived it and hired me, and now we are growing quicker than I can imagine right now. We have 3 bureaus across the country, correspondents everywhere on Turtle Island. Our bureau is here in Washington, D.C. Our headquarters is in Phoenix, Arizona, and a bureau in Anchorage, Alaska. We have Indigenous journalists, again, all over the country covering news. I think, covering news that mainstream often misses and also mainstream doesn't pay attention to, because I think a lot of our stories are very nuanced. Of course, there's the obvious, but there's also stories that are very near and dear to our heart, and I just love the work I do and hope you guys will follow it. The website's IndianCountryToday.com, and yeah, thank you so much for having us out here. I appreciate you all joining us, and thank you to Annie for organizing this and for those here at the library. And just thank you to all the vendors and everyone showing their talents and what we're made of. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jourdan, for those words. We're actually going to hear from some Native kids in HoCo again, and they're just going to have to speak up very loud. Guys, or you come over here and introduce yourself.
I know, I really like
Gate. Ashkiari Yinisha, Fahakulin Nishle, Do Pamunkey Basachin, Do Petani Desiche, Do Yaman Dishnale. I'm asking y'all. Natani Auld Yinisha, Toha Gleanisha. Do Pamunkey Basachin, Do Petani Desiche, Do Yaman Dishnale. I'm the tiny Auld.
Ashki.
First we will sing Shinisha. Next we will sing the Navajo puppy song.
Indian City by Hallucination. So give it up for Angela.
Virginia and Washington, D.C. It means welcome, cherished friends. My name is Rose Powhatan. My mother's family is Pamunkey. They have the reservation in King William County, Virginia, and they're the first Virginia tribe to be federally recognized through the BIA. Prior to that time, we signed treaties with the King of England. Oh, excuse me, I made a mistake. The King of England, Ireland, France, Scotland, and Virginia. So, you know, that was quite some time ago. And now I have the pleasure of having my three grandsons here with their parents, and two of my grandsons just performed with a song, Natani and HoCo-Auld. My father's family is Toxinant, and the Toxinants or Dogs are from Fairfax County, Virginia, Northern Virginia, which includes Arlington and Alexandria. I had to say that because due to treaties and also due to the 10-mile square boundary stones set up to mark off the federal city in the 1790s, Arlington and Alexandria were part of Washington, D.C. And the Notchkotch Tanks, who lived in parts of Washington, D.C., after a while, they left their D.C. homeland and they joined the Indians in northern Virginia because we were part of the powerful Powhatan Paramountcy. The Powhatan Paramountcy was a group of 32 different sovereign Indian nations, which stretched all the way from North Carolina to today's Washington, D.C. And in 1677, when they had a very important treaty signed, it was signed at Middle Plantation, which is now called Williamsburg. The head chief, the paramount chief at that time, was a woman named Kakokowsk. Now, a lot of people didn't understand that because with the European way of looking at things, you trace your line through your father. Well, we knew better. We traced our lines through our mothers because you could see that baby coming out of the body and you knew exactly where it came from. Thank you, there you go. So anyway, I'm supposed to tell you some stories today, and usually when you say storyteller, it's like a nice way of saying a liar, because a story a lot of times isn't necessarily true, but we learn things from it. They're told to us for a reason. And a lot of times we used to have storytellers that would share their wisdom with young people so that they would know how to survive. And this story I'm going to tell you is kind of chilly for me to share it with you, but I'm going to share it with you anyway because a lot of people wonder where things come from. And since it's Taquatalk is harvest time for my people, we don't see as many of the different things going on in nature that we would see during the summertime. So I know it's not summer, but I'm going to share this story with you anyway because it gives you some explanation for something that has been bothering a lot of us. A long time ago, it's always a long time ago, right? Okay, here we go. A long time ago, there was a village that was put together with a lot of different indigenous people who had welcomed others into their tribe. And it was sort of like a transient area because it was near the waterways. And before you had highways, you had the waterways. And my ancestors used to travel up and down the waterways to get from one place to the other. As a matter of fact, I didn't mention my Wampanoag ancestors. They were whalers from Nantucket Island up there in Massachusetts, and they came down from Nantucket and they married indigenous women down in this area. So anyway, years ago you had this village, which was a very welcoming village, and it was near the water, and it was also near fertile lands where everything would grow beautifully, and it also was near a forest where you had a lot of animal life. Now, one thing about Native American people is, you know, we respect everything in nature, everything that breathes, an animal that breathes. You know, some of you have puppies and dogs, you think they're your children and grandchildren, okay? So you understand what I'm saying here. But sometimes you need to hunt so you can have nourishment from the food, so you can use the skins to make your clothing or functional items. You use the bones to make tools from, even needles. You use the sinew to make your thread for sewing. So hunters and hunting was really valued for my ancestors years ago. And one summer, one of their most prestigious young hunters who was engaged to someone to be married decided that he was going to go out and go deep into the woods, farther than anybody else had gone, because he wanted to bring back some choice game, so, you know, for their wedding, so they could serve their guests. And so maybe his bride could use the skins and tan them and make something beautiful for both herself and himself out of it. And, you know, they could use the tools. You didn't have trash heaps in those days like we have now. I know you put out your recyclables and all that other stuff, but my ancestors used everything, okay? So anyway, so he went out to go hunt, to see what he could get deeper in the woods, deeper than anyone else had ever gone to. But he was gone a long time and never came back. Uh-oh, his fiancée was getting nervous. You know how it is just before you get married. Is somebody going to say, I don't? Is somebody going to show up? Is somebody going to run away? So anyway, so she was getting a little nervous, and she couldn't understand why her fiancé hadn't come back from the hunt. Did he have a girlfriend somewhere else she didn't know about? So she was so nervous, she decided she was going to go off on her own and find him. Well, she was gone a long time, didn't come back. And people got suspicious. And the older, wise elders of the tribe had an inkling about what was going on. They said, this sounds like the work of a Wendigo. Raise your hand if you've ever heard about a Wendigo. Okay. Now, you know there are a lot of variations on Wendigo stories. I'm going to tell you my own, okay? So anyway, so the elders got together and they had a tribal council, and they decided that a Wendigo could be watching the village, and people had to be careful and stay within the palisade. And they warned little children especially, stay close to the village. Do not go outside the palisaded walls of the village. But unfortunately, as fate would have it, a naughty little boy decided he was going to go and find out what was going on. There was this mystery, you know, maybe he could find out what was happening. So let's say his name was Opie. That's short for Opie Can Canoe, okay? One of my ancestors. So anyway, so little Opie went off into the woods by himself. No one went with him, but he was a well-trained young man, you know, so he still was careful to watch for signs of things, to see if anything was dangerous, or look for animal tracks and what have you, you know. Oh, the wolf tracks look different from, let's say, a bunny or a squirrel or a deer, okay? So he felt pretty safe and sure of himself. And after he got kind of deep into the woods, he saw an old lady who had fallen, and she was on the ground. And the old lady said, "Help me! I've fallen and I can't get up! Hey, that's universal, right? Timeless. So anyway, the little boy was well trained by his parents. He knew to respect your elders and to help people who need help, okay? So he went over to the little old lady to try to help her get up. And all of a sudden, the little old lady grabbed his arm and shifted her shape. It was a shape-shifting Wendigo with glowing red eyes and long claws and fangs the better to tear flesh with. And the wind, oh, I got your attention, didn't I? Okay, so I'm not going to say the grisly parts, okay? So anyway, so the Wendigo said, I got you now. You're going to do whatever I tell you to. Because one unfortunate grisly thing about Wendigos is they're cannibals. And they love the taste, sweet taste of human flesh. And the little boy was hypnotized, mesmerized. He couldn't move under his own volition, but he could still think, and he was thinking, oh no, what have I done now? My parents told me not to go outside the palisaded village, but I didn't listen. I should have listened to my parents, and now look at this mess I'm in. Oh no, somebody please come save me. Not a word, not a sound came out of his mouth. And the Wendigo is just cackling. Nobody's going to hear you, little boy. Weren't you told not to go far away outside the palisaded village walls? But you did it anyway, didn't you? And now you're going to pay for it. And the Wendigo told the little boy to go and gather some wood to build a fire. And the little boy said, oh no, what am I going to do? Mommy, Daddy, somebody please come get me. But no one could hear him. Not a sound could come out of his mouth because the Wendigo put a spell on him. So after the little boy gathered the firewood, I see children here. I'm not going to tell you what happened to the little boy. Let's just say he was no more. That evening, his mother was looking everywhere for little Opie, and she went around to different people, and she said, have you seen Opie? And they said, oh no, and she went to somebody else in another part of the village, and she said, I think that's the Wendigo. She asked them, have you seen my little boy? And they said, oh, it was horrible. What could we say about this? So, oh, forgot to go over there. Have you seen Opie anywhere?
No.
No. Well, the elders decided they had to take action. So they called a big tribal meeting. And they said, we have got to get rid of the Wendigo. And one of the younger tribal members said, oh, but that's impossible. Everybody knows that the Wendigo's skin is so tough that no arrow can pierce it. And the elder said, yes, we know that. But we have plans. And they got together in the tribal council. And since you're not a member of the tribal council, I can't tell you what happened. And they made their plans. Well, the next day, things were kind of busy outside the walls of the palisaded village because they decided that they were going to trap the Wendigo. And so they had people to dig a big pit a little distance away from the palisaded wall, close enough to the forest so the Wendigo could look out and see what was happening. And then they put rocks, stones, and stakes down in the pit. And then they put small saplings that still had green, fresh leaves on them. They put them over top of the pit. And then they put other vegetation nearby to make it look like, you know, it was just some landscaping, okay? And then the bait. They found the most handsome, buff warrior, young warrior they could, who had fabulous abs, biceps, triceps, I don't know, he looked good. And they gave him some bear grease, and he oiled up his body. And they had him to march up and down near the pit and, you know, pretend he was, you know, trying to look for different things and take care of the little landscapes and what have you. And he was also very athletic. Did I mention that? Well, he had those biceps, quadriceps, and I don't know what all he had. So anyway, you didn't have any overweight fat Indians at that time in history, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Okay. So anyway, the Wendigo got wind of a human being not far away. And it looked out in the forest and they saw this fantastic specimen of humankind marching up and down, flexing his muscles, doing a little dips here and there. And nobody else was around. So the Wendigo decided to come out of the forest. And the young warrior, who was also a gymnast, hopped back over the pit. And the Wendigo was lunging, trying to grab him, and fell down in the pit. And then all the other warriors had their arrows, and they were in hiding, and they popped out, and they had fire arrows, and they shot those fire arrows down into the pit, and it got hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter. And you know how sometimes you cook with heated stones, right? Those stones got so hot, the Wendigo's flesh got harder and harder and harder till it cracked open. And then his heart was exposed, and they shot the Wendigo. And the Wendigo was dying. But before the Wendigo died, the Wendigo said, "You fools! You think you got rid of me, but I'm putting a curse on you. My children are going to eat your children forever and ever." And then there was a big black cloud that rose up out of the pit. And people were getting bitten left and right. Oh my gosh, they were getting bitten all over the place. Because that's where the first mosquitoes came from. And those mosquitoes from the Wendigo have been eating us alive ever since. I guess you could believe that story. So, woo, look at that. Okay, I tell you, it's a Wendigo, all right. I have a question for the young people in this crowd, and this is my little grandson, Navajo. Are you a chicken or are you an eagle?
Eagle.
Good. I want you to remember that, because sometimes people will try to fool you and tell you that you are chicken. And this story sort of relates to that. A long time ago, a little boy whose parents had a chicken farm found a stray egg that had fallen out of a nest. And they didn't know where the egg came from. So he took the egg back home, and one of the mother hens raised the little egg and sat on it. And then when it hatched, the bird that came out of that egg was raised along with the other chicks. And then one day, while the chick was pecking in the dirt with his head down, he saw a shadow on the ground. And he looked up to see where the shadow was coming from, and there was this big, beautiful eagle flying and soaring in the sky, almost like that airplane that we're seeing over there. So anyway, the little chick went to his mother hen and said, "What's that? I never saw a bird like that before." She said, "That's an eagle. An eagle is the king of the sky. He can fly so high, he can almost touch where the sky people live. But you keep plucking down in the dirt because you're a chicken." But he wasn't a chicken. He was really an eagle. That egg the little boy found was an eagle's egg. And that poor little eagle was raised to be a chicken. So he never really spread his wings and took off for the heavens like the eagle he was supposed to do. He just kept pecking in the dirt. So I want you to keep that in mind, because a lot of times in life, people will tell you what you can or can't do, and you can. And you fly and soar like that eagle, and don't ever let anybody to tell you to keep pecking in the dirt. So I guess that's it. Does anybody have the time? Thank you for your time.
Yes. And first, Annie.
Sorry, I just wanted to really emphasize how awesome it is that Carol's here. This book is actually one of my favorites, and I'll hold it up so everyone can see, called We Are Water Protectors. And I find it so inspiring. The pipeline, I'm not sure how much anyone knows, but the DAPL pipeline was going through Indian territory, so it was a huge fight that a lot of natives are facing. There's a lot of injustices throughout Indian country, and it's just really nice to have people speak up. And I think this book is so important. It's a book that I have my kids read all the time, a book that I will gift out to many people, because I think it highlights the beauty of our culture as well as current issues that we're facing throughout Indian country. So thank you so much, Carol. I'm so honored that you decided to come.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor and a joy to be here. Anin, bonjour. I am as they were mentioning, I'm the author of We Are Water Protectors, which was illustrated by Michaela Goad. I am a citizen of the Turtle Mountain Band of Ojibwe, which my tribal homelands are in North Dakota. But I did not grow up on my tribal homelands. I grew up in Nebraska. My mother did. And I just want to talk a little bit about what some people were saying today. My grandmother was an Indian school or boarding school survivor. So a lot of my, culture and ancestry and so forth was lost. As I was growing up, I grew up with a lot of shame because growing up in Nebraska, it was very hard when people knew I was Native. I just got a lot of, it was hard in grade school. And throughout my life, when I would mention that I was Native. So I was very ashamed for a long time of who I was, and I didn't acknowledge my Nativeness a lot because I didn't know a lot about who I was because of the boarding school era. I mean, my mother didn't know who we were. I remember as a child, I would ask her mom, what does it mean that we're Ojibwe and Métis? And my mother didn't know because all of that was taken away and there was a lot of shame. And so as I got older, I felt I needed to know more about who I was, and so I started to like do a lot more research and so forth. But it wasn't until 2016 when the Dakota Access Pipeline and Standing Rock happened, and it was so overwhelming for me because at that time I was able to see all my people, you know, just I never really felt that connected before because I didn't grow up in my homeland, and I didn't grow up around a lot of Native people, and so not until I saw Standing Rock and what was happening, and I was like, these are all my people, and they all feel like me about the planet and the earth and the environment, and they all want to save it like I do. And so I felt like I needed to do something, but I didn't know what to do because I live in the DC area, and it wasn't possible for me to get to go there at the time. So I thought, well, I don't know what I could do. Well, maybe I could write a book. So I had started writing this book, which was it started out as a young adult novel because there was a lot of things I wanted to talk about you know, just the whole Standing Rock situation and all the heavy stuff that went into it. But I wanted to tell the story quick, and I wanted to get this out. So then I decided, well, maybe a picture book is the best way to go because a picture book is, you know, there's 500 words-ish in a picture book, so it's more easier, but not easy, but easier to work with 500 words versus 50,000. So I decided the picture book. And you know, writing for children of this age group, you know, I mean, children get it. You know, they do. They know what's going on. They know that we need to save this earth and this planet and the water and everything. Our relatives, all of our relatives, the winged ones, the crawling ones, the water, the swimming ones, all of them are our relatives, and we need to, you can see, you know, the climate is crisis, and we need to do something about it. So I wrote this book in 2017, and it was, you know, I am amazed at the way it has been embraced by people, by schools, by high schools, by colleges, by, you know, so many people using it in their curriculums and so forth. So it just brings me so much joy and happiness because I want the world to know that we are still here. You know, we will always be here. We always have been here, and we will always be here. So I would love to read my book, We Are Water Protectors, to you. Again, it was illustrated by Gladue, who won the Caldecott Award for the book this year. It also has been a New York Times bestseller, which is, again, as a Native author, and to show for our Native peoples to, you know, I'm just grateful. So I would like to read to you.
Why don't you read the book?
Water is the first medicine, Nokomis told me. We come from water. It nourished us inside our mother's body, as it nourishes us here on Mother Earth. Water is sacred, she said. We stand with our songs and our drums. We are still here. The river's rhythm runs through my veins, runs through my people's veins. My people talk of a black snake that will destroy the land.
20 times.
Spoil the water, poison plants and animals, wreck everything in its path.
Every day of my life.
When my people first spoke of the black snake, they foretold that it wouldn't come for many, many years. Now the black snake is here. Its venom burns the land, courses through the water, making it unfit to drink. Take courage. I must keep the black snake away from my village's water. I must rally my people together. To stand for the water, to stand for the land, to stand as one against the black snake. We stand with our songs and our drums. We are still here. It will not be easy. We fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. The winged ones, the crawling ones. The four-legged, the two-legged, the plants, trees, rivers, lakes. The earth. We are all related. Tears, like waterfalls, stream down. Tracks down my face. Tracks down my people's faces. Water has its own spirit, Nokomis told me. Water is alive. Water remembers our ancestors who came before us, she said. We stand with our songs and our drums. We are still here. We are stewards of this earth. Our spirits have not been broken. We are water protectors. We stand. The black snake is in for the fight of its life. And at the end of the book is a Earth Steward and Water Protector pledge that I would love to recite with you. If you have the book and you would like to read along with me, I would be so grateful. So, the Earth Steward and Water Protector pledge. I will do my best to honor Mother Earth and all its living beings, including the water and land. I will always remember to treat the earth as I would like to be treated. I will treat the winged ones, the crawling ones, the four-legged, the two-legged, the plants, trees, rivers, lakes, the earth, with kindness and respect. I pledge to make this world a better place by being a steward of the earth and a protector of the water. And with that, I would like to say thank you so much.
My name is Peter Guadalupe Landeros. I'm a Pascual-Yaqui Indian from southern Arizona. I'm also the director of a civil rights organization called the American Indian Movement. For those that don't know what that is, it is one of the main reasons why something like this can happen today. We started in 1968 to combat against police brutality and to show that we have our rights in the state of Minnesota, Minneapolis area. And we've expanded to all across this country to stand up for the rights of indigenous people anywhere, everywhere inside of Turtle Island. Before I continue, I want to say that what we're standing on is Piscataway, Nanacoke, and
Susquehannock territory. Susquehannock people.
Yeah, Susquehannock land. And we have to honor them every time that we speak. And I don't always remember to do it first, but I always try to get them in no matter what. Today, as American Indian Movement, we are fighting not just for some of the, you hear about the pipelines, the children that have showed up missing on these boarding schools, drug and alcoholism on the reservation, domestic violence, abuse, and things of that nature that we stand up for every day by the way we live our lives and what we do in our community. From where I'm at out west, it's a lot different out here. We're a lot fewer and far in between, but we're a strong community and we try to stick together and represent ourselves in the best way possible and always hold our head high and proud of who we are and what we are and never be ashamed of being an Indian. That's the way I was raised and that's what AIM stands for, being proud of who you are and what you are, irregardless of what other people may say or think of you. I know I come from a strong warrior race, strong people that not only were warriors, but knew how to till the land and survive no matter what. And not many people can say that they know exactly where they come from. I could say that. If you have indigenous blood, most of the time you could say that. I can trace my roots all the way back to pre-colonialism. And in my case, for the Spanish came to Mexico and what they call Texas nowadays, which was never Texas and never Mexico in the 1600s. Be proud of who you are as a Native American. Be proud of who you are as a person, period, no matter what your descent is. We as American Indian Movement, we stand together with Black Lives Matter. We stand together with the Black Panther movement. We stand together with anything and anywhere that injustice happens that happens to be against the civil rights against people, irregardless. Okay? It doesn't make a difference. I'm brown skinned and you may be a little darker pigmentation than I am. You're still a human being and you need to be treated as one and not treated as a dog or less than human, as it describes us in the Constitution of this country. This year, in 2022, we're going to do a longest walk from California to DC for Leonard Peltier. And for those of you who don't know who Leonard Peltier is, he is the longest political prisoner ever to serve in prison here in the United States. He's been locked up for over 45 years for a murder he didn't commit. It's been proven over and over and over again that he is innocent of the charges and the federal government refused to let him go. And that brings me back to one thing I always say when I talk, is that the federal government, when they've fought wars in other countries, they've always gone to that country and rebuilt it and made it better than it was before. There's only one nation they never did that to, and that is us as tribal people. All they did is stick us on what they call reservations, what I call concentration camps. They forbid us to use our language, beat us. burned us, cut our hair, all because we were different and we knew how to survive and they didn't. It's a sad story sometimes, but sometimes it's a happy story because we're strong enough to say after 500 and some odd years of occupation that we are still here, we are still viable, and we still belong to the land that we were originally from. Every day when we wake up, we pray to the sun, to the God, to Jesus, whatever you want to call him, and say thank you for today. And every day you wake up, this is what you have to do to continue to move forward in life, irregardless of what's put in front of you. Appreciate the trees. This time of year, it's beautiful. The painted leaves, the way they change colors and everything and all that. Respect the ground that you walk on, because every step you take is native land, irregardless of whether you say you own it or not. You can't own something that wasn't yours to own to begin with. We respect everything, from the creatures that crawl underneath the earth to the ones that live in the sky. And until we can get everybody to do the same thing, we're going to have the problems with the pipelines. We're going to have the problems with carbon. We're going to have the problems with coal. We're going to have. And the other biggest problem that the colonial people brought here was greed. That never existed here until the colonial people landed. We never knew what greed was. But greed is what killed, which pushed the biggest genocide that ever happened on the face of this earth to my people. It is greed that has pushed us on the reservation. It is greed that the federal government tells us to shut up and keep doing and don't make too much noise. Standing Rock was great. It really brought a lot of people together. But since Standing Rock is not going on anymore, that unity is starting to fall apart. And we need that unity to stay no matter what. We need to stand as one people, one tribe, one nation, so that we can accomplish what we have to in this world. Aho, and thank you for my time.
Lindstrom, she's signing a couple more books, and she's going to come back up. If you got your book with you, she can sign it for you as well. She'll be here for a little bit longer, but we're excited to hear about her upcoming release. So we're one of the first ones to get a taste of what's going to get released a little bit later on in the fall or winter 2022. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us today, and we're looking forward to hearing more from Carol.
Sorry. Well, I guess I'm going to tell you some more stuff. I'm going to talk to you about, I'll explain to you a bit about some of the books that I have coming up and tell you what they're about. I have a couple books coming next year, picture books. One of them is going to be out in spring-ish of 2022, and it's called My Powerful Hair. And it's a picture book about hair, our hair, native hair. And the inspiration for the book was my grandmother being in boarding school, Indian boarding school. She was in the Wahpeton Indian boarding school in North Dakota. And when I was growing up, my mother would never let me have long hair. I always wanted to grow my hair long, but she just would say no, that it was wild. And, it would look, it just wasn't good. I think, and I didn't realize it till I got older, that my mom probably got that from my grandmother, because we had a picture of my grandma and my great aunts together, and it was in their smocks when they were sent to Indian boarding school. And my mom said that, because I was wondered about it, I go, why are they sitting like that? Why are they wearing those smocks, and why is their hair just chopped? And my mom said, well, when they went to boarding school, that they were told that they had lice and that they had to have their hair cut off. And my mom said they had really beautiful black long hair. And so, I don't know, that always stuck with me when I was growing up, and I thought, I just didn't understand that. And then my mom, again, not letting me have long hair. And then I've seen all these stories now that you probably see today sometimes in schools where children, Native children, are getting their hair cut off, their braids and whatnot, by other children. And then that really just, I thought, wow, I have to write a book about this. Because I have to write a book about how important our hair is. You know, our hair holds memories. Our hair is like a scrapbook. Our hair is all of our memories and all the things that have happened in our lives. And, you know, during the pandemic when it first started and we weren't going anywhere and we were all home, you know, I wasn't getting my hair cut normally, and I started letting it grow. And this is the longest my hair has ever been. And I realized that that's why, you know, I thought about my mom and my grandma, and then I said, I'm never going to cut my hair again. And I thought the pandemic, you know, that is in my hair. All that stuff that happened with my family and all the things we've lived through and everything we go through is in our hair. Our hair is so important, especially to Native peoples. And so I thought, I need to write a book. So it's a book about hair, my powerful hair, and about a young girl who wants to grow her hair long, but her mother won't let her for the same reasons that my mother wouldn't let me, because of the shame and the boarding schools. But the young girl decides that she's going to grow her hair long, and so she does. And her mom does too. That's the end of at the end of the book. Her mom decides that she's also going to grow her hair long, and her mother's never had long hair in her life. So that's really that book, and it's called My Powerful Hair, and it's going to be out in the spring of next year, 2022. And then next year I also have another book called Autumn Peltier, Water Warrior, and it is a biography about Autumn Peltier. As you know, she's the Chief Water Commissioner, or maybe you don't, in Anishinaabe Nation, and she's 17 years old. She's amazing. She's done so much to draw attention to water and the need for clean water all over in Canada, because that's where she lives. But she is amazing, and so that is about her. That'll be out in I guess fall of next year. That's also coming out with the same publisher that published We Are Water Protectors, with Roaring Brook Press. So that is also going to have a foreword by Autumn in the book as well. So yeah, that, and then the year after, a book called The Gift of the Great Buffalo. And that is a book about how important buffalo are to our people, and especially being Turtle Mountain, you know, Métis, the Buffalo Nation. It's a book about a young girl who wants to help her family because she understands how important buffalo is, that they need to survive. And so they go on a buffalo hunt, the family, and they don't find buffalo. And they need the buffalo, you know, because they need to hunt before the winter comes. So they need to be able to get all their meat and everything they need to survive the winter. And so she decides to help, and so she scouts for buffalo, unbeknownst to her father. And so it's a story about her, a little girl, a young girl, protagonist who, you know, she sees the need for this, and she just decides to go and help. And she gets in trouble for it because, you know, she wasn't supposed to, but it's kind of a weird trouble, right? Because she did actually help, and she did scout out buffalo. So, yeah, it's an important story, I think. And at the back of the book, I talk about buffalo and all of the uses of the buffalo, the bones, the sinew, how we used all the animals when we hunted and hunt. So that is The Gift of the Great Buffalo. That will be out, I think, in spring of 2023. So, yeah. And then I'm also writing a novel now, a middle grade novel. This one is a fantasy, sort of, I guess fantasy novel, but it's about the medicine line, I'm calling it, which, you know, the 49th parallel, which really didn't mean anything to my people. So, yeah, it'll have maybe a Wendigo in it. So it's gonna be spooky, scary, but good. And just like most storytelling, I think, by Native peoples is there's, lessons in there woven in. There's a lot certainly about the environment, social justice, because that is what I love to write about. I like to, anytime environmental issues, especially that affect Native peoples, our people, I will find a way to make that accessible to young people so that they can understand issues that we deal with and we fight every day, and that we are still here. We are always going to be here. We have always been here, and we are stewards of the earth, and we need help. We need more people to be our allies, and we need more people to help to keep our planet safe and to protect it, right? Because our planet is very important. Water is so important. So yes, I will always keep writing books about picture books, middle grade, young adult, all kinds of books. I got a gazillion ideas in my head because we got a lot of stories to tell. So anyway, that's pretty much it about me, and I thank you for listening, and I will be happy to sign your books with you.
Many books that portrayed Native peoples in a positive light or in accurate way, we didn't really have picture books like this when I was a kid. That really dates me, I know, but so any books we did have, the books that I read were like Little House on the Prairie, and those books really did a number on me as a kid, because I didn't, I struggled so much with that because I liked the stories about the family, but then I'm like, but we're savages and we're wild, and they portray us as such bad people, and that's not who we are. So as a kid, I had a hard time with books because, as I said, I didn't see myself in them in positive ways. We were always doing bad things or, hurting people or, and so and that's partly what made me decide I wanted to write for children, or I always knew I wanted to be an author. I loved books. I was always in the library when I was a kid. I spent pretty much all weekends at the library in the stacks, just sitting on the floor, just taking books off the shelves, and whatever looked interesting to me, I would just read. And then, as I said, I got older and I didn't really think about writing for children. It just didn't register until I had my son, who is now 14. And when I was reading books for him, I did not see books that I wanted, that portray Native peoples today. There were a lot of books that showed Native peoples in history, in the past, and books that may talk about historical times in history, which is great, and accurate historical elements. Stories are very important, but there weren't any contemporary stories that talked about us today and what we are doing today and how do we live today and what are the issues that we deal with today. So that's kind of where I decided that I wanted to write Native stories, but it was not easy to get into the publishing world at the time that I was writing for my son, because I kind of started in 2008, and I would go to these children's book festivals, and I would go to to meet authors and other agents and editors and so forth, and I would present my work, my writings, and they would say, no, these books aren't really ready for the trade. They're not, these are just too small of a niche. They're about Native peoples. Nobody really wants to read about Native people. So we don't write those books anymore if you want people to read them. So I thought, that's really what I want to write, though, because we have a lot of things to tell. But I thought, I just want to write books. I want to write stories, and I will write whatever I have to write in order to get in the publishing, into the editor, and then I'm going to write the stories I want to write. But even though I was writing other stories about tooth fairies and bunnies and rabbits and things like that, that's not really where my passion was, and that's not where my heart was. And so that's why I think, it wasn't going for me. I've been working at this business full time, seriously, writing for about 11 years before I found an agent, and it was We Are Water Protectors. That's how I got my agent, and I just sent the manuscript to her, and 5 minutes later I got a reply. And I have had many rejections in my life. I mean, so many rejections. I can't even tell you the piles and piles of letters and rejections and manuscripts that I have, but they didn't stop me. I mean, yes, they were hard and they hurt, and like everything, they you know, they sting, but you just, like, in my mind, I just knew that I wanted to write for children. I wanted to write books, and like, I just wasn't going to let that stop me, you know, and so I just kept going. And then like I said, I happened to send the manuscript for Water Protectors to an agent out of the blue. I just thought, well, maybe I should send it to her because I like her and I like who she represents. And then 5 minutes later, I got an email from her that said, I want to see the whole manuscript and I'd like to talk to you. And I thought, oh, this can't be true. After all these years of writing and getting rejected and nobody wanting my work and telling me that it's too Indian and we can't tell these stories to the world because they're not going to want them. And I finally got an interest in the agent. And so that was in 2017. And then it was with Water Protectors that I got the interest with her. And the story, when I wrote it, We Are Water Protectors, was much more of a narrative story than this is. It was more about a girl who, she happened to go outside and she saw the construction equipment on her land. She wanted to go out to pick medicines, traditional medicines, and there was, evidence of the equipment. And it was just more of a story, and it wasn't working. I don't know why, but it just didn't flow right. And my agent said, well, could you maybe write it more lyrically? Have you thought about that? And I said, I don't know what you're talking about. I can't do that. That was my first initial. So if you're a child here and you go, I can't do that. That's what I said. But my agent always says to me, give it 3 days, sort of think about it, don't do anything. So I did. I sat on it for 3 days and I just sort of let it, go in my head. And I thought, I can't do this. I can't do that. I don't know how to write lyrical. So on the third day, I sat down and I wrote this book pretty much the way it is. The only thing that changed was the first and second line flip-flopped. But otherwise it came out this way. And then, and then look what it came, it became. And so I think about the people that told me, and the editors and the publishers and the agents and people who told me, well, it'll never sell into the trade because it's too nichey or it's too about Native American issues. Well, it won the Caldecott Medal because of the illustrator's amazing work. And it was on the New York Times bestseller list. So these books are important. These books belong on all the book lists with all the other books that are out there. It's time. There's a really great movement now, which in the children's book world, which is awesome, about Native books. And there's so many more Native illustrators and authors and creative peoples coming out with books that I am so grateful to see. Young adult and middle grade, and stories that I would have just killed for as a child that show us in powerful roles in the world today, as we should be, and doing big things. So it's a great time in the world for Native Lit, and I'm really happy to be part of it, and I'm just really so honored to be here today and to talk about this with you, and I'm grateful that you came to see me, and miigwech for everything, and thank you, Anin. Bushu.
Thank you guys so much for coming out to support.